For your convenience, we are presenting complete course of business communication and report writing on our YouTube channel ETV 786. So keep on watching our business education channel ETV 786. And if you are new, please subscribe it now for immediate notifications. Dear viewers, we are presenting through YouTube channel ETV 786 an easy guide for business students. If you want to get a job or to close a potential client, you must possess effective writing skills. In this show, we are presenting 9 important clues for effective writing to get job or to close the potential client. It will take hardly 3.5 minutes to watch till end. So keep on connected. And now let's start the show. Effective writing. In today's competitive world, a good writing must engage a reader. Whether it is a proposal or a resume, the reader must feel involved in the write-up. Feedback is the goal. Effective writing number 1. Start with something interesting. In today's market scenario, where several resumes or business proposals are lying at the desk, why does a particular resume or proposal get attended than the other in the lot? Thinking. It is because that it has a cover letter or introductory note that make it sellable. A summary of a candidate's profile or product or service profile, on the other hand, is always better than a simply stated one-line objective which merely talks about a candidate's or product's aspiration. Effective writing. Add a personal touch. While writing to potential clients for business or writing a resume for the job, ensure that the content is customized as per the client's profile and requirement. This helps creating a special bond with the reader. Effective writing. Give examples and not just adjectives. A candidate must mention a relevant example to demonstrate or justify the adjectives included in the resume. For instance, if he or she talks about his strengths in area of team management, he or she should mention an example on how well a team was handled. Avoid giving micro-level details, however, mention about achievements or recognitions, and same is applicable to get feedback from the potential client. Effective writing. Leverage numbers. A candidate must back up achievements and adjectives stated with numbers. Same goes for the corporate looking for business. Numbers form a strong base for generating commitment. A percentage movement showing improvement in performance or scores always catches attention of the reader. Effective writing. Avoid jargons. If a candidate is applying in a completely different industry than the one he has worked before in, he should avoid or not use jargons which are not relevant to the new industry. Jargons tend to confuse people and there is a possibility of the message being lost. In case a jargon is to be used, the expanded form should also be mentioned. For instance, a jargon EMS should be written as Employee Measurement System EMS. Effective writing. Do not misrepresent data. Write with integrity. Whether it is numbers of years of experience or sales volume, all facts stated should be true. This can affect overall goodwill and reputation of individual and corporation as well. Effective writing. Communication skills. Ensure that the document is error-free, no spelling or grammatical mistakes. Always proofread the document or proposal or get it read by a friend or colleague. Effective writing. Follow-up. Most of the times, a candidate submits a resume or a proposal to a prospective client and does not follow up. Remember, there are several other resumes and proposals which are lying at the desk. A candidate needs to ensure that a prompt follow-up should be done. Effective writing. Last but not least, use of 7 C's. Well-known 7 C's of effective communication are applicable to both written as well as oral communication. These are as follows. Number 1, completeness. Number 2, conciseness. Number 3, consideration. Number 4, clarity. Number 5, concreteness. Number 6, courtesy. Number 7, correctness. Our next show will be an easy guide for making a great presentation. So keep on connected and subscribe the channel. Dear viewers, we are presenting through YouTube channel ETV 786 an easy guide for business students. If you want to make a great and effective presentation, you must possess effective presentation skills. In this show, we are presenting characteristics of effective presentation and 5-step process for making a great presentation. So keep on watching and now let's start the show. Effective presentation. Presentation can be defined as a formal event characterized by teamwork and use of audiovisual aids. The main purpose of presentation is to give information to persuade the audience to act and to create goodwill. A good presentation should have a good subject matter, should match with the objective, should best fit the audience, and should be well organized. Characteristics of effective presentation. Number 1, the presentation ideas should be well adopted to your audience. Relate your presentation message or idea to the interests of the audience. A detailed audience analysis must be made before the presentation. That is, an analysis of the needs, age, educational background, language, and culture of the target audience. Their body language instantly gives the required feedback. Characteristics of effective presentation. Number 2. A good presentation should be concise and should be focused on the topic. It should not move off track. Characteristics of effective presentation. Number 3. A good presentation should have the potential to convey the required information. Characteristics of effective presentation. Number 4. The fear should be transformed into positive energy during the presentation. Be calm and relaxed while giving a presentation. Before beginning, wait and develop an eye contact with the audience. Focus on conveying your message well and use a positive body language. Characteristics of effective presentation. Number 5. To communicate the desired information, the speaker should use more of visual aids such as transparencies, diagrams, pictures, charts, etc. Each transparency or slide should contain limited and essential information only. No slide should be kept on for a long time. Try facing the audience rather than the screen. The speaker should not block the view. Characteristics of effective presentation. Number 6. A good presentation must be planned. The speaker must plan how to begin the presentation, what to speak in the middle of presentation, and how to end the presentation without losing audience interest at any point of time. Characteristics of effective presentation. Number 7. Rehearse and practice the presentation. This will help the speaker to be more confident and self-assured. The more the speaker rehearses, the better the presentation turns to be. Characteristics of effective presentation. Number 8. The speaker should encourage more questions from the audience. He should be honest enough to answer those questions. If any biased question is put forth by the audience, re-articulate it before answering. Characteristics of effective presentation. Number 9. Summarize the presentation at the end. Give final comments. Leave a positive impact upon the audience. Characteristics of effective presentation. Number 10. The speaker must have a presentable appearance while giving a presentation. The speaker should stand with feet far apart, maintaining a good balance. He must use confident gesture. He must use short and simple words. Characteristics of effective presentation. Number 11. Try to gain and maintain audience interest by using positive quotes, humor, or remarkable facts. Characteristics of effective presentation. Number 12. The speaker must be affirmative and optimistic before giving presentation. He should ensure all tools and equipments to be used in presentation are working well. Characteristics of effective presentation. Number 13. The speaker must state the objectives of the presentation at beginning of the presentation. Making a great presentation. Number 1. State the objectives. A presenter must ensure that he or she understands the purpose of the presentation. Sometimes a good presentation fails to make an impact because the audience is not clear what the presentation is about. A good way to start a presentation is to clearly state or mention or include the objectives in the presentation. Making a great presentation. Number 2. Analyze your audience. The presenter must find more about his or her target audience. Whether the audience has a specific educational background or whether they are from upper middle class or middle class, this is the topic or theme of the presentation. It is very important to know some specific details of the target audience. This also helps to create a rapport with the audience during the presentation. Making a great presentation. Number 3. Avoid heavy text on PowerPoint slides. Usually presentations are associated with PowerPoint slides. However, it is always advisable to use a blend of various forms of learning. It could be a fun activity, a short quiz, or a small story. If you still wish to use slides, write minimum possible words in each slide. Use bullet points wherever possible. More words on one slide carry a risk with them. The audience will get busy in reading what is written than what the presenter is saying, or the audience might just get bored by seeing a lot of words. Making a great presentation. Number 4. Rehearse again and again. The feeling is quite different while a presenter is presenting live than what he or she is just practicing in a closed room. It is a good idea for the presenter to practice at the venue if possible. This helps him get familiar with the place and the surroundings. Also, a presenter should make as many notes as possible and also think of possible questions that might come up during the course of presentation. Making a great presentation. Number 5. Revisit the objectives. Once the notes have been made, A presenter must critically analyze the presentation with respect to the objectives of the presentation. He should ask himself questions like, number 1, does this presentation match the objective stated? And number 2, is this presentation flowing logically? In today's market scenario, if a person is able to think, write and present persuasively, he has won half the battle. Our next show will be an easy guide for seeking the use of body language in communication. Dear viewers, YouTube channel ETV786 presenting an easy guide for business students. Kinesics, a study of body language, must be understood by all. In this show, we are presenting 6 types of body gestures that may influence the communication process. It will take a few minutes to watch till end, so keep on watching, and now let's start the show. Use of body language in communication. Did you know that while in India or America, a fantastic or an OK sign is demonstrated by forming a circle with your thumb and forefinger? In Tunisia, the same symbol means I will kill you, and in Japan, it means money. Kinesics, a study of body language, must be understood by all. Whether it is an interview or a presentation, one must be aware of how to use body language effectively. Use of body language in communication. Number 1, eye contact. Always maintain eye contact with your audience. However, a person must ensure that he or she should not fix his gaze at one person for more than 5 seconds. Too much fluttering of eyes could indicate lack of confidence. Staring at a person could be daunting and hence is not such a good idea. Use of body language in communication. Number 2, handshake. While shaking hands, especially in a professional environment, the handshake should be firm and not loose. An iron handshake, a very strong handshake, can indicate that a person is trying to dominate. Use of body language in communication. Number 3, crossing your arms. Crossing your arms is perhaps the most common body language gesture that we come across in our day-to-day lives. Crossing arms across the chest is a classic gesture of defensiveness. This defensiveness usually manifests as discomfort, uneasiness, insecurity, or shyness. However, in a one-on-one interview, if the interviewer has his or her arms crossed, the candidate could do the same. Use of body language in communication. Number 4, sitting posture. Leaning on a chair is not a good idea. One must sit upright, though in a relaxed position. Sitting back in your chair implies lack of interest or rejection. Use of body language in communication. Number 5, gesture. Gesture refers to a type of non-verbal communication which uses a part of the body with or without verbal communication. Gestures include facial expressions, nods, which is a sign of approval in most cultures, head bobbling, or shaking. Use of body language in communication. Number 6, facial expression. The face is a best reflection of what a person feels. More often than not, it is easy to recognize if a person is happy, sad, anxious, irritated, or excited. It is very important that in a professional scenario, a person must control his or her facial expression. For example, if a presenter gets a feel that his presentation is not going on very well, he or she should not show the sign of losing of hope and instead try for a greater involvement from the participants. Our next show will be an easy guide for barriers of effective communication and their solution. So keep on connected and subscribe the channel for more interesting shows. Dear viewers, YouTube channel ETV786 presenting an easy guide for business students. There are some communications barriers which can destroy the message. Therefore, one must know the solution to overcome these barriers. In this show, we will study some possible barriers of communication and their solutions. It will take a few minutes to watch till end. So keep on watching, and now let's start the show. Reasons for communication barriers. Communication is a process beginning with a sender who encodes the message and passes it through some channel to the receiver who decodes the message. Communication is fruitful if and only if the messages sent by the sender is interpreted with same meaning by the receiver. Thus, the managers must locate such barriers and take steps to get rid of them. Communication barriers. Number 1, perceptual and language differences. Perceptions is generally how each individual interprets the world around him. Everyone generally wants to receive messages which are significant to them, but any message which is against their values is not accepted. A same event may be taken differently by different individuals. Communication barriers. Number 2, information overload. Managers are surrounded with a pool of information. It is essential to control this information flow, else the information is likely to be misinterpreted or forgotten or overlooked. As a result, communication may be less effective. Communication barriers. Number 3, inattention. At times, we just not listen, but only hear. For example, a traveler may pay attention to one no parking sign, but if such sign is put all over the city, he no longer listens to it. Thus, repetitive messages should be ignored for effective communication. Similarly, if a superior is engrossed in his paperwork and his subordinate explains him his problem, the superior may not get what he is saying and it leads to disappointment of subordinate. Communication barriers. Number 4. Time pressures. Often in organization the targets have to be achieved within a specified time period, the failure of which has adverse consequences. In a haste to meet deadlines, the formal channels of communication are shortened, or messages are partially given, or not completely transferred. Thus sufficient time should be given for effective communication. Communication barriers. Number 5. Distraction or noise. Communication is also affected a lot by noise to distractions. Physical distractions are also there, such as poor lighting, uncomfortable sitting. Unhygienic room also affects communication in a meeting. Similarly, use of loudspeakers interferes with communication. Communication barriers. Number 6. Emotions. Emotional state at a particular point of time also affects communication. If the receiver feels that communicator is angry, he interprets that the information being sent is very bad, while he takes it differently if the communicator is happy and jovial. In that case, the message is interpreted to be good and interesting. Communication barriers. Number 7. Complexity in organizational structure. Greater the hierarchy in an organization, more the number of managerial levels, more is the chances of communication getting destroyed. Only the people at the top level can see the overall picture, while the people at low level just have knowledge about their own area and a little knowledge about other areas. Communication barriers. Number 8. Poor retention. Human memory cannot function beyond a limit. One can't always retain what is being told, especially if he or she is not interested or not attentive. This leads to communication breakdown. Overcoming communication barriers. The message intended by the sender is not understood by the receiver in the same terms and sense, and thus communication breakdown occurs. It is essential to deal and cope up with these communication barriers so as to ensure smooth and effective communication. Solutions of communication barriers. Number 1. Eliminating differences in perception. The organization should ensure that it is recruiting right individuals on the job. It is the responsibility of the interviewer to ensure that the interviewee has command over the written and spoken language. There should be proper induction programs so that the policies of the company are clear to all the employees. There should be proper training conducted for required employees, for example, voice and accent training. Solutions of communication barriers. Number 2. Use of simple language. Use of simple and clear words should be emphasized. Use of ambiguous words and jargons should be avoided. Solutions of communication barrier. Number 3. Reduction and elimination of noise levels. Noise is the main communication barrier which must be overcome on priority basis. It is essential to identify the source of noise and then eliminate that source. Solutions of communication barriers. Number 4. Active listening. Listen attentively and carefully. There is a difference between listening and hearing. Active listening means hearing with proper understanding of the message that is heard. By asking questions, the speaker can ensure whether his or her message is understood or not by the receiver in the same terms as intended by the speaker. Solution of communication barriers. Number 5. Emotional state. During communication, one should make effective use of body language. He or she should not show their emotions while communication, as the receiver might misinterpret the message being delivered. For example, if the conveyor of the message is in a bad mood, then the receiver might think that the information being delivered is not good. Solution of communication barriers. Number 6. Simple organizational structure. The organizational structure should not be complex. The number of hierarchical levels should be optimum. There should be an ideal span of control within the organization. Simpler the organizational structure, more effective will be the communication. Solutions of communication barriers. Number 7. Avoid information overload. The managers should know how to prioritize their work. They should not overload themselves with the work. They should spend quality time with their subordinates and should listen to their problems and feedbacks actively. Solutions of communication barriers. Number 8. Give constructive feedback. Avoid giving negative feedback. The contents of the feedback might be negative, but it should be delivered constructively. Constructive feedback will lead to effective communication between the superior and subordinates. Solutions of communication barriers. Number 9. Proper media selection. The managers should properly select the medium of communication. Simple messages should be conveyed orally, like face-to-face interaction or meetings. Use of written means of communication should be encouraged for delivering complex messages. For significant messages, reminder can be given by using written means of communication such as memos, notices, etc. Solutions of communication barriers. Number 10. Flexibility in meeting the targets. For effective communication in an organization, the managers should ensure that the individuals are meeting their targets timely, without skipping the formal channels of communication. There should not be much pressure on employees to meet their targets. Our next show will be an easy guide to learn all about 7 C's of effective communication. So keep on connected and subscribe the channel for more interesting shows. Dear viewers, YouTube channel ETV 786 presenting an easy guide for business students. 7 C's are the most critical part of the business communication. What are they and what are their features? We will know all about 7 C's in this show. It will take a few minutes to understand the importance of 7 C's. So keep on connected and watch the show till end. 7 C's of effective business communication. There are 7 C's of effective communication which are applicable to both written as well as oral communication. These are as follows. Number 1, completeness. Number 2, conciseness. Number 3, consideration. Number 4, clarity. Number 5, concreteness. Number 6, courtesy. And number 7, correctness. Let's find what are 7 C's and what are their features. 7 C's of effective business communication. Number 1, completeness. The communication must be complete. It should convey all facts required by the audience. The sender of the message must take into consideration the receiver's mindset and convey the message accordingly. A complete communication has following features. Number 1, complete communication develops and enhances reputation of an organization. Number 2, moreover, they are cost saving as no crucial information is missing and no additional cost is incurred in conveying extra message if the communication is complete. Number 3, a complete communication always gives additional information wherever required. And number 4, it persuades the audience. 7 C's of effective business communication. Number 2, conciseness. Conciseness means wordiness. That is, communicating what you want to convey in least possible words without foregoing the other C's of communication. Conciseness is necessity for effective communication. Concise communication has following features. Number 1, it is both time saving as well as cost saving. Number 2, it underlines and highlights the main message as it avoids using excessive and needless words. Number 3, it provides short and essential message in limited words to the audience. Number 4, it is more appealing and comprehensible to the audience. And number 5, concise message is not repetitive in nature. 7 C's of effective business communication. Number 3, consideration. Consideration implies stepping into the shoes of others. Effective communication must take the audience into consideration. That is, the audience's viewpoint, background, mindset, education level, etc. Make an attempt to envisage your audience, their requirements, emotions, as well as problems. Ensure that the self-respect of the audience is maintained and their emotions are not at harm. Modify your words in message to suit the audience's needs while making your message complete. 7 C's of effective business communication. Feature of considered communication are as follows. Number 1, emphasize on you approach. Number 2, empathize with the audience and exhibit interest in the audience. This will stimulate a positive reaction from the audience. And number 3, show optimism towards your audience. Emphasize on what is possible rather than what is impossible. Lay stress on positive words such as jovial, committed, thanks, warm, healthy, help, etc. 7 C's of effective business communication. Number 4, clarity. Clarity implies emphasizing on a specific message or goal at a time, rather than trying to achieve too much at once. Clarity in communication has following features. Number 1, it makes understanding easier. Number 2, complete clarity of thoughts and ideas enhances the meaning of the message. And number 3, clear message makes use of exact, appropriate and concrete words. 7 C's of effective business communication. Number 5, concreteness. Concrete communication implies being particular and clear rather than fuzzy and general. Concreteness strengthens the confidence. Concrete message has following features. Number 1, it is supported with specific facts and figures. Number 2, it makes use of words that are clear and that build the reputation. And number 3, concrete messages are not misinterpreted. 7 C's of effective business communication. Number 6, courtesy. Courtesy in message implies the message should show the sender's expression as well as should respect the receiver. The sender of the message should be sincerely polite, judicious, reflective, and enthusiastic. Courteous message has following features. Number 1, courtesy implies taking into consideration both viewpoints as well as feelings of the receiver of the message. Number 2, courteous message is positive and focused at the audience. Number 3, it makes use of terms showing respect for the receiver of message. And number 4, it is not at all biased. 7 C's of effective business communication. Number 7, correctness. Correctness in communication implies that there are no grammatical errors in communication. Correct communication has following features. Number 1, the message is exact, correct, and well timed. Number 2, correct message has greater impact on the audience or readers and boosts up the confidence level. And number 3, it makes use of appropriate and correct language in the message. Our next show will be an easy guide to learn all about corporate meetings. Dear viewers, ETV 786 is presenting Easy Guide for Business Students. Corporate meetings are the essential part of communication process. In this guide, we are going to learn all about corporate meetings, such as importance of corporate meeting, its scope, and 4-step process. I am sure you will enjoy the show. Let's start the show. Corporate meetings are a very crucial part of business activities. They are a significant means of formal communication. Meetings are a venue for generation of new and innovative ideas. These meetings are multi-purpose in nature actually. They aim at discussing feedback and receiving feedback on the spot. The information of prior importance is given during meetings. They are a true means of conveying feelings and expressions. Corporate meetings. Who participate in corporate meetings? Meetings involve people of the company. Meetings thus encourage participation and motivate them. Participants in a meeting, if given responsibility, turn out to be more productive and contribute to organizational success. Corporate meetings. Purpose of corporate meetings. Corporate meetings thus turn out to be a place where various aspects of business management are discussed. The performance of the company, the mission and vision of the company, the weaknesses of the company, the obstacles faced and how to overcome them. Effective meetings involve presentations and lead to personality development. Efficient meetings save time, money and resources of the company. Corporate meetings. How to conduct corporate meetings. Communicating in a meeting is an essential part of effective communication. Some meetings are not conducted in an efficient manner due to which they fail in accomplishing the sole objective of the meeting. It may be because they do not involve participation of all, they may be too long, they may be unsystematic, they may lack a clear agenda, they may not begin on the planned time, they may end without any conclusion. Effective corporate meetings, the process. Number 1, plan the meeting. Plan the meeting in advance. With the plan clear in mind, the objective of the meeting can be well accomplished. Planning includes, number 1, outline the objective of the meeting. Number 2, decide the attendees or participants of the meeting. Number 3, plan an agenda for the meeting. That is, the topics to be discussed, the sequence in which they will be discussed, in how much detail they will be discussed, the time given to each agenda topic, etc. And number 4, plan the starting time of the meeting, plan for the breaks, and also plan the approximate time by which the meeting should end. Effective corporate meetings, the process. Step number 2, announce or declare the meeting. After planning the meeting and before actually beginning the meeting, the participants should be delivered a message or memorandum to make them aware and ready for the topics to be discussed in the meeting. Give each participant responsibility for the agenda item. Issue the agenda. Effective corporate meetings, the process. Step number 3, conduct the meeting. 1. Be punctual. Try and arrive before time for the meeting. Number 2. The meeting should begin on time. Number 3. State the objective of the meeting in the very beginning so that all are clear with the purpose of the meeting. Number 4. Give a brief introduction of the members or participants so that all are familiar. Number 5. Circulate notes and handout. Number 6. Involve all attendees during the discussion. Number 7. Encourage new ideas from the participants and respect their ideas. And number 8. Ask for the feedback. Effective corporate meeting, the process. Step number 3, conduct the meeting. Point number 9, make sure that there are no distractions during the meeting, such as ringing cell phones or participants fiddling with pen or gossiping, etc. Number 10, give a quick review of the issues discussed in the meeting. Number 11, make sure that all the issues are discussed within the time frame. Number 12, if time does not permit discussion of all issues, ask the participants if they are comfortable in discussing those issues in next meeting. And number 13, fix and decide upon the time for the next meeting. Effective corporate meeting, the process. Step number 4, evaluate the meeting. Number 1, assess the meeting after it is conducted. Number 2, distribute an evaluation form to all participants which provides you a feedback on the effectiveness of the meeting. Number 3, to get credible and honest feedback, do not give a space for name of the attendee on the form. And number 4, ask questions such as whether the objectives of the meeting were well met, did it involve participation of all, which part of the meeting did the attendee found most constructive, and which part of meeting was not sufficient. Dear viewers, you are watching Business Communication on YouTube channel ETV 786. In this show, we will discuss 10 most important tips and guidelines for professionals to improve their communication skills. Guidelines for professionals to improve their skills. One can be an extremely hardworking and intelligent worker, but to taste success in the fierce competitive world, one has to be a good and impressive communicator. In corporate, you will not get too many chances to win the confidence of your boss and fellow workers. You have to create a positive impression at the first go itself. Doing your work is important, but what is more important is presenting your work well. One has to be very careful about his communication skills to perform well at his workplace and have an edge over his fellow workers. First, we will see the list of 10 most important tips, and then we will further explore them, what they are and how can we use them in our day-to-day professional activities. So let's start the 10 golden lines for professionals to improve their communication skills. 10 golden lines for professionals to improve their skills. Number 1. Understand the second party well. Number 2. Always be yourself, very clear what you want to communicate. Number 3. The pitch and the tone must also be taken care of. Number 4. At workplaces, never interact at noisy places. Number 5. The queries must be asked at the end of the presentation. Number 6. While sharing any important information, do verify with the recipients whether they have understood or not. Number 7. Don't always depend on verbal communication. Number 8. There should be transparency among all the team members, and the subordinates must have an easy access to their superiors. Number 9. Also take care of your appearance at workplace. And number 10. The most important of all, be yourself and be very confident. 10 golden tips. Tip number 1. Understand the second party well. Number 1. Know more about their thought process, cultural backgrounds and educational background for effective communication. Number 2. The content must be designed keeping the audience in mind. For instance, if you need to address the frontline staff, it is always advisable to keep your speech simple for them to understand well. And number 3. For interacting with top shots, don't adopt a casual approach. Use professional jargons and corporate terminologies in your speech for the bang-on effect. 10 golden tips. Tip number 2. Always be yourself, very clear what you want to communicate. Number 1. If you yourself are confused, you will also confuse others. Number 2. Whatever thought you want to share with others, carefully put it into sensible and relevant words for others to understand clearly. Number 3. Careful selection of words is very important for an effective communication. Number 4. If you want to address your team in the conference room near the cafeteria, please do mention the location very clearly. And number 5. Don't keep half of your thoughts in mind and expect the others to understand it on their own. 10 golden tips. Tip number 3. The pitch and the tone must also be taken care of. Number 1. During presentations, seminars or business meetings, your tone must be audible to each and every participant to create the desired impact and for others to look up to you. Number 2. Make sure that the individual sitting on the last bench is also able to hear you properly for him to give his best. Number 3. Don't speak too low or shout. Never rush. Number 4. Speak slowly and clearly what you expect your fellow workers to do. Number 5. Make your speech interesting. Number 6. Don't make long presentations or unnecessarily drag the meeting. Number 7. During long meetings, monotony creeps in and individuals tend to lose interest. Do include a tea or a snack break. 10 golden tips. Tip number 4. At workplaces, never interact at noisy places. Number 1. Noise acts as a hindrance to an effective communication, so never communicate near cafeteria or employees' workstations. Number 2. Prefer a conference room or a boardroom or a noise-free zone for meetings and presentations. Number 3. The speaker must use whiteboard, markers, pen and paper to highlight the important points. And number 4. The listeners must also carry a notepad and a pen to jot down the important points as well as their queries. 10 golden tips. Tip number 5. The queries must be asked at the end of the presentation. Jumping in between leads to confusion and misunderstandings and disrespect for the speaker. Number 2. The question-answer round must be kept at the end of presentations, seminars and meetings. Number 3. The speaker must invite questions from the audience in the end and the listeners must also solve all their queries before leaving for a better understanding. Number 4. Don't feel shy to ask your queries. 10 golden tips. Tip number 6. While sharing any important information, do verify with the recipients whether they have understood or not. Number 1. While sharing any important contact number, always cross-check with the recipient to ensure that they have noted it correctly. Number 2. Don't dictate your email ID in one go. Number 3. Always break it into words which must be further broken into alphabets. Number 4. For better clarity, alphabets must be related with the word that stand for. For example, A as in alpha, B as in beta, T as in tango, C as in Charlie, and so on. Number 5. Share your business cards, then verbally dictating your details as chances of error get reduced. 10 golden tips. Tip number 7. Don't always depend on verbal communication. Number 1. After any meeting, make it a habit to send the minutes of the meeting through mail, marking a CC to all the participants for everyone to recall what happened in the meeting. Learn the art of writing business mails. Number 2. Never use stylish fonts or loud colors in business communication. Number 3. The agenda of the meeting must also be sent well in advance so that the participants come prepared and do not give blank expressions during the meeting. 10 golden tips. Tip number 8. There should be transparency among all the team members and the subordinates must have an easy access to their superiors. Number 1. The hierarchy should be simple for easy flow of information among the team members. Number 2. The employee must know whom to contact in case of a query to avoid dilution of the information. Number 3. Never call any client or any employee when he is about to leave for the day, as he would never bother to listen carefully. Number 4. Also avoid discussing important matters during lunchtime, as the employee is altogether in a different mood. 10 golden tips. Tip number 9. Also take care of your appearance at workplace. Number 1. Never be shabby and keep your nails clean. Number 2. Do not wear loud colors to office. Number 3. Casual dressing is a strict no at workplaces. Number 4. Make sure to carry a planner or an organizer to note down your work against the deadline to avoid forgetting important assignments. Number 5. In offices, always keep your mobiles in the silent mode, as loud ringtones act as a disturbing element and employees find it hard to concentrate at work. 10 golden tips. Tip number 10. The most important of all. Be yourself and be very confident. Number 1. Give your best every day at work and adopt a positive approach. Number 2. Nervousness and overexcitement lead to stammering and ineffective communication. Number 3. Learn to keep a control on your emotions and be very careful about what you say and how you say. Number 4. Communicate effectively at workplace to be successful. Our next guide will be effective listening and report writing skills. So keep on watching. Dear viewers, you are watching Business Communication on YouTube channel ETV 786. This is an easy guide number 8. In this guide, we will cover two very important topics of business communication. Number 1, effective listening, and number 2, report writing. Our first guide is effective listening. We will discuss 4 topics under effective listening. Number 1, what is effective listening? Number 2, difference between listening and hearing. Number 3, properties of effective listening. And number 4, 10 golden tips for effective listening. Effective listening. Listening means attentiveness and interest perceptible in the posture as well as expressions. Listening implies decoding, that is, translating the symbols into meaning, and interpreting the messages correctly in communication process. Listening is a significant part of communication process. Communication cannot take place until and unless a message is heard and retained thoroughly and positively by the receivers or listeners. Listening is a dynamic process. Difference between listening and hearing. Listening differs from hearing in sense that hearing implies just perceiving the sounds, while listening means listening with understanding whatever you are listening. Both the body as well as mind is involved in listening process. Listening is an active process while hearing is a passive activity. Hearing is an effortless activity while listening is an act requiring conscious efforts, concentration and interest. Listening involves both physical and psychological efforts. Properties of effective listening. Effective listening requires deliberate efforts and a keen mind. Effective listeners appreciate flow of new ideas and information. Organizations that follow the principles of effective listening are always informed timely, updated with the changes and implementations, and are always out of crisis situation. Effective listening promotes organizational relationships, encourages product delivery and innovation, as well as helps organization to deal with the diversity in employees and customers itself. Effective listening gives you an advantage and make you more impressive when you speak. 10 golden tips for effective listening. Number 1, discover your interested field. Number 2, grasp and understand the matter or content. Number 3, remain calm. Anger hampers and inhibits communication. Number 4, be open to accept new ideas and information. Number 5, jot down and take a note of important points. Number 6, work upon listening. Number 7, analyze and evaluate the speech in spare time. Number 8, avoid distractions. Number 9, rephrase and summarize the speaker's ideas. Keep on asking questions. This demonstrates that how well you understand the speaker's ideas and also that you are listening. Number 10, put yourself in the position of the speaker and observe things from his viewpoint. This will help creating an atmosphere of mutual understanding and improve the exchange of ideas in communication process. Now our second guide is effective report writing skills. We will discuss three topics under effective report writing. Number 1, what is report? Number 2, steps of effective report writing. Number 3, 11 essentials of effective report writing. What is report? A report can be defined as a testimonial or account of some happening. It is purely based on observation and analysis. A report gives an explanation of any circumstances. In today's corporate world, reports play a crucial role. They are a strong base for planning and control in an organization. That is, reports give information which can be utilized by the management team in an organization for making plans and for solving complex issues in the organization and decision making. Steps of effective report writing. Step number 1. Determine the objective of a report. That is, identify the problem. Number 2. Collect the required material or facts for the report. Number 3. Study and examine the facts gathered. Number 4. Plan the facts for the report. Number 5. Prepare an outline for the report. That is, draft the report. Number 6. Edit the drafted report. Number 7. Distribute the draft report to the advisory team and ask for feedback and recommendations. Essentials of effective report writing. Number 1. Know your objective. That is, be focused, highlight the main message. Number 2. Make an analysis of target audience, the purpose for which audience requires the report, kind of data audience is looking for, the implication of report reading, etc. Number 3. Decide the length of report. Include all relevant facts in a report. Number 4. Disclose correct and true information in a report. Number 5. Discuss all sides of the problem reasonably and impartially. Number 6. Concentrate on the report structure and matter. Pre-decide the report writing style. Use vivid structure of sentences. Number 7. The report should be neatly presented and should be carefully documented. Number 8. Encourage feedback on the report from the critics. The report can be modified based on such feedback. Number 9. Use graphs charts to show the numerical data records over years. Number 10. Decide on the margins on a report. Ideally, the top and the side margin should be the same, minimum 1 inch broad. But the lower or bottom margins can be 1.5 times as broad as others. Number 11. Attempt to generate readers' interest by making appropriate paragraphs, giving bold headings for each paragraph, using bullets wherever required. Our next guide will be impressive resume or CV writing skills. Dear viewers, you are watching Business Communication on YouTube channel ETV 786. In this guide, we'll seek how to write an impressive personal profile or resume that is very important for students after completing their studies. So let's start impressive resume or CV writing skills. Personal profile or resume writing. By this time, we all are convinced that resume plays a very important role when it comes to putting your steps into a professional world. Irrespective of the fact that you are a fresher or a seasoned professional, at some point or the other, you surely need a good, well-written resume which portrays you well. Now that we know and understand what a resume is and why it is so important, it is time to move on to some tips and tricks to write an impressive resume which works. In this guide, we are presenting 7 sections of the impressive resume that can impress the employer at first sight. You can also follow us on our social media outlets. 7 sections of effective resume writing. Number 1. First things first. Before you sit to work on your resume, if you are preparing it on your own, prioritize things in your mind. If a recruiter likes your resume, what is that one information which he or she will rush to find out? Yes, you are right. It is your contact information which a hiring manager will look for if he or she really finds your resume interesting. So make sure that there is no ambiguity in this section. Write clearly your name, contact number, alternate contact number if any, and your email ID, residential address, as they do like to know how much far do you stay from your prospective organization. This matters a lot and recruiters know it well. 7 sections of effective resume writing. Number 2. An objective or an opening statement. An excellent, concise and definite objective statement should have 3 important things. Number 1. What level of work are you looking for? Is it the entry level, middle or senior level opportunities that you are aspiring for? Number 2. The second section should clearly state 2 to 3 functional areas that you want to work in. For example, if you have been working on a marketing profile, the objective line should say 2 to 3 clear-cut areas of work like looking for middle-level assignment in sales, marketing or customer services. Number 3. Now the third part is essential if you have any industry preference. One thing you need to keep in mind while writing objective statements is that do not state many preferences, else it will be too narrowed down and can give a negative impact to the recruiter as well. 7 sections of effective resume writing. Number 3. Gist or profile summary. Though all the sections are important in a resume, but this particular section needs to be specially taken care of. Since this is the first major section of your resume, it should be impressive. Recruiters should have a broad idea of your profile by going through this section. Even if a recruiter does not go through the whole resume, at least this section will give him a fair idea of why you should be hired. This section should include the number of years of overall work experience, current association, highest education if it is relevant to your profile, and the target profile, some key skills and few significant accomplishments. Remember, if you are writing something in your summary part, your resume below should somehow justify the same. It should be connected and the flow of information should be maintained. 7 sections of effective resume writing. Number 4, skill section. Right after summary part, talk about 8 to 9 core skills which you want to recruiter to focus on. Do not overfill this section as a person cannot be expert at 10 to 15 things. There might be 6 to 7 skills which you are proficient at. So focus on those skills which are transferable and can be utilized in the prospective company as well. Do not go overboard. Think before you mention any skill, and once you mention something, the rest of your resume should back it up well. If you do not want to list out your skills in a separate section, there is another way you can highlight them. Your skills can be merged with your work experience section. 7 sections of effective resume writing. Example for skill section. For example, in the work experience section, you can start the heading as financial accounting, and under this you can give 3 to 4 bullet points that you have done related to accounting. Next heading can be budgeting and taxation. All your responsibilities can be categorized under this header. Next could be human resource management, under which you can elaborate few points on the size of team you might have handled, the trainings that were imparted, etc. This is another way of showing your skills, and at the same time this justifies the skills right then and there. 7 sections of effective resume writing. Number 5, work experience. This section should contain your work history. You can list out the organizations that you have worked so far. Roles and achievements can be elaborated here. Talk about the projects that you might have undertaken. What were the challenges faced and how did you overcome them? Elucidate your achievements as well and quantify them to substantiate your statements. But remember that this section should not be just some bulleted list of a merely job description. It will be monotonous to read lifeless bullet points, so you need to be cautious while writing this section. 7 sections of effective resume writing. Number 6, education. You don't have to work hard for this section as everything is factual here. So just mention your educational background, your highest qualification, the name of the institute, and the year of passing. You can also mention your academic award and recognition if you have received any. Mention the marks or GPA or CGPA only when it is above and beyond 60 to 65% score. 7 sections of effective resume writing. Number 7, volunteer assignments. Do not shy away if you have any voluntary experience. Some people might think that there is no relevance mentioning them, but if you have volunteered, it is worth mentioning. Explain how you added value. So these were some short tips and tricks on how to write an effective resume. You can share some more tips if you have practical experience of writing an impressive resume. Our next guide will be job interviews, tips for interviewers and interviewees. Dear viewers, you are watching Business Communication on YouTube channel ETV786. In this guide, we will see what are job interviews and discuss some important tips for interviewee as well as interviewer. Job interviews. An interview means a face-to-face interaction between the interviewer and the candidate or candidates so as to obtain desired information from him or them. It can also be defined as a way of exchanging meanings between individuals by using a common set of symbols. Interviews generally need a preparation. Job interviews seem frightening, even if the individual is well prepared. Interviews have a definite structure. Clear communication should take place during an interview. All interviews have a definite purpose familiar to the interviewer and the candidate or interviewee. Tips for the interviewee. Number 1. The interviewee should be dressed formally and not casually. Have a pleasing appearance as the candidate's personality is a significant part of the communication. Number 2. Always carry an extra CV, a notepad to write on, a pen, and all essential things required in an interview. Number 3. Practice, practice, and practice in advance. Prepare and rehearse for the unexpected also. Number 4. Research a lot about the organization for which you are being interviewed. Number 5. As soon as the interview gets over, pen down the name of the interviewer, your strengths and weaknesses, answers to questions raised by you during the interview, and the feedback of the interviewer. Tips for interviewee. Number 6. Be punctual. Try reaching before time for the job interview. Number 7. Don't indulge in a fight or argument with the interviewer. Number 8. Answer the questions specifically, truly, and undoubtedly. Number 9. Be courteous and sophisticated during an interview. Number 10. Just be yourself. Don't boast about yourself. The interviewer is smart enough to judge the candidate's intelligence and aptness for the job. Number 11. Don't make negative statements or comments about your past employer. Number 12. Your body language should be positive during the interview. That is, maintain an eye-to-eye contact with the interviewer. Sit in well-balanced and confident posture. Don't lean on the table. Don't yawn. Smile when appropriate, etc. Tips for interviewer. Number 1. The interviewer should be an active listener. He should not interrupt unnecessarily. Number 2. The interviewer should be considerate enough. Even if the interviewer does not agree with the interviewee, he must respect the latter's feelings. Number 3. The interviewer should be friendly and understanding. He should begin the interview in a friendly manner, some friendly conversations, and then show concern in family background, hobbies, etc. This will make the interview more relaxed and comfortable. Number 4. The interviewer should restrain to the time allotted. He should not indulge in argument unnecessarily. He should try to be precise. Tips for interviewer. Number 5. The interviewer must be thoroughly prepared for the questions that are likely to be asked. He should be a good planner. Number 6. The interviewer must focus attention on the interviewee. He should use positive gestures when conducting the interview. Number 7. Encourage invite questions from the interviewee. Ensure that the interviewee clarifies the questions he has. When selected, a candidate should not feel he was not told about a certain aspect of the job. Number 8. Avoid distraction in the interview area. Ensure that there is no or minimal distraction where the interview is being conducted. A phone ringing all the time in the background can distract the interviewer and interviewee. Our next guide will be high-stake negotiation. This will be the last lesson of business communication. Please keep on watching the videos and don't forget to subscribe our channel ETV 786. Negotiations are part and parcel of our lives. Whether it is bargaining with vegetable vendor or haggling with the butcher, we are all exposed to negotiations as part of our existence. In this guide, we will discuss all about high-stakes negotiations. So keep on watching YouTube channel ETV 786. And don't forget to subscribe our channel as it is your pocket guide. Let's start last guide of business communication, high stakes negotiations. What are negotiations? Negotiation is a strategic discussion that resolves an issue in a way that both parties find acceptable. Thus, one cannot but master negotiating skills if one too has to navigate the tricky and treacherous waters of our world. While the negotiations described above are usually over a small sum of money in the corporate world and in the world of intergovernmental universes, the negotiations usually entail high stakes and hence must be carried out with care and caution. High-stakes negotiations. These type of negotiations can range from business-to-business deals, such as mergers and acquisitions to buyout and leverage swaps, and to negotiations in the international bodies, such as the ones taking place with respect to the Brexit, or the long-drawn-out negotiations between the United Kingdom on one hand and the European Union on the other hand. Indeed, if not anything, what these examples show is that negotiations are not easy, and hence both sides must prepare well in advance and with enough information as well as recognition of one's limitations before approaching the high table for talks. Negotiations are not a child's play. Thus, what the ongoing battles over Brexit and Trump's numerous attempts to strike deals show is that negotiations are not child's play and must be best left to the adults in the room who have experience and the needed patience to not only put their point across but also to convince the other side to accept their point of view. Indeed, high-stakes negotiations are usually tense and fraught affairs where neither side is willing to budge and where the fine print is as important as the ultimate statement that is put out at the conclusion of the deal. How negotiations work. Insights from game theory. The terms zero-sum games and cooperative games as well as the related Nash equilibrium are from the field of game theory that specifies how different actors and stakeholders in high-stake negotiations often approach the negotiating table. These terms and theories prescribe an approach to negotiations that can be utilized by the different stakeholders to actualize optimal outcomes for their respective positions. Negotiations are hold your nerves. Indeed, as mentioned earlier, adequate preparation is a must in the world of high-stakes negotiations, and in addition, the negotiator must hold their nerve and not blink first if they are to not concede their advantage to the other side. Moreover, negotiators must not be in a hurry and like a Zen master must bide their time and wait for the correct opening in a manner similar to the chess players who plan ahead and at the same time are ready for surprises. Point of no return. High-stakes negotiations in the present digital age have taken on a more risky mode as it is easy for the negotiators to be swayed by the pressures of the moment and concede to the other side. For instance, in both business and governmental negotiations, if all that the negotiators are doing is playing the gallery, wherein they incessantly look out for breaking news, Facebook posts and tweets, the end result would likely be what the lowest common denominator wants, rather than what the optimal outcome would be. High-stakes negotiations are painstaking affairs. Indeed, the digital age has made high-stakes negotiations that much tougher as each side is eager to show the world that they have won, and hence may be prone to making mistakes in the rush to announce their victory to the world. The point here is that negotiations are painstaking affairs and long-drawn processes that take time to conclude, and thus negotiator must eschew the optics of high-visibility media appearances and instead must focus on actualizing a winning hand. Keys to high-stakes negotiations. This calls for hard work prior to the negotiations, due diligence done in advance, patience and fortitude during the talks, and above all, a tendency not to push things to the breaking point and take the negotiations beyond the point of no return that would stymie the talks and end in failure. Thus, as can be seen from the theories and the examples cited so far, experience and expertise in negotiations are needed, and for rookies, it is better to learn from the experiences of their seniors and use such learning when they get the chance. High-stakes negotiations conclusion. To conclude, negotiations are part of our lives and hence one can draw upon one's life experiences as well as insights from learning on the job to become a successful negotiator.